Mario Worker Letterworld series is a fan game created by TheMarioVariable. The project, which refers to the bonus worlds from the game Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, was initially created in Mario Worker 1.0, hence the name of this series, while later worlds were already made on the creator's personal engine. Starting with World A, first released in 2010, and ending with World Z, first released in 2020, we have as many as 26 worlds to play through, and we can expect them to differ significantly. This ranking is designed to rate all 26 letter worlds from worst to best. Please keep in mind that this is a subjective list. Go ahead, share your ranking and feelings in the comments. Let's begin. When I think of worlds in the context of Mario, I automatically think of a set of levels. In the case of World D, however, things are different because the entire world consists of only one level, which by itself is also not very long. It's also quite amusing that in such a short level we have a pretty serious glitch where Mario falls under the bridge and loses her life. Overall, not a bad level, but we could just take it and put it in a different world and it wouldn't make much of a difference. The second world on the list, which is also the second world in the game, is World B. This time we have two levels to beat, with level 1 having chasing cheap chips that are pretty uncommon outside of underwater levels, and a castle. While B-1 is completely fine, I'm not a fan of a water castle that is B-2, as you are forced to wait many times for the fishes to pass through, not to mention the brick block wall that has to be destroyed by a pickaxe bro. Still, I can at least call it a world, since it actually has more than one level. World K seems to be a winter world at first, but we couldn't be more wrong, as the second level is a waterfall one and K-3 is your run-of-the-mill castle. It's a pretty inoffensive world, but at the same time it doesn't really bring anything new to the table, making it earn the 24th place. Also, I know that it has been mentioned by various people already, but the lava in K-1 is a little out of place. There we have it, World A, the very first world of the series. I have mentioned that some of the earlier worlds were first made in Mario Worker 1.0, and this one is no exception. Even though some of the levels were remade in their later releases, at its core it's still your typical grassland created in Mario Worker 1.0, which is as basic as it gets. Nevertheless, the world is still a fun way to start our adventure, and with its 6 levels, it has the same amount of stages as worlds E, B and K combined. World D seems like your typical Mario Forever world, and to some extent it is one. However, the levels are well built and unique. I really like the castle in this one, with its lava falls and an interesting bonus room where you have to get hit beforehand in order to access it. Bowser himself has got an upgrade too, as he will attack with a huge fireball. It ain't much, but it's honest work to make Bowser more intimidating than experienced fights. Perhaps World D could have been ranked higher if it wasn't for D-4, with its numerous brick-block walls that you have to destroy with your beetroot. It's not necessarily a bad gimmick, but it overstays its welcome in this stage, and if you get hit at the wrong time, you may be forced to die and try again. World H is a special one, as it's the final letter world made in Mario Worker. Even though TheMarioVariable made worlds F and G Multimedia Fusion 2, The trial period has expired by the time he finished the World G, so TMV decided to go back to his roots and he made World H in Mario Worker. Because of that, the world seems pretty basic for the 8th world. However, I have always been a sucker for Sky Worlds since World 5 in SMB3, and this one is no exception. My main complaint about this world is that for some reason it has a lot of cloud mazes, too many of them in my opinion. The castle did not avoid the mazes too, with an infamous section where you have to choose one correct pipe out of 8. I forgive this world, however, for SMB2 and SMB3 music that is not often featured in Mario Forever, and also for the ominous castle in the dark sky. Finally, we go to a world from the second half of the game, World N. Of course we had to get to an underwater world sooner or later. It's one of those worlds that get better the more you progress through it, with N-1 and N-2 being its weak points, especially the latter being an uneventful water maze that drags for too long. Fortunately, from N-3 it gets better and better, with the N-4 being the highlight of the world, with a race against the water that slowly descends. Just don't play it in 60 FPS in some of the earlier versions. Back to the first half, are we? It's time for World G, another one that doesn't end with a castle, let alone Bowser. Just like D-4, we get to play a lot with a beetroot. This time, however, I think the gimmick is much more bearable, with not that many blocks to destroy. Also, if you manage to get through the cave unscathed, which is not an easy task, you may destroy the wall earlier without having to look for another beetroot deep in the underground. It is a simple yet rewarding mechanic that I always love to see in games. The world finishes with a rainy level that is relatively short and fun to speedrun. Overall, it's simple, but a good kind of simple. World C. I really like this world for two reasons. It's the first world with branching paths. At the end of C-2 you may choose if you want to go to C-3 or to C-A, with them being vastly different stages. It's not the last time we get to choose where to go in this game, which I'm glad for since I think it's a novel idea. The second reason? The music in C-1 that is playing in the background just now. It's so upbeat and sweet I cannot help but to be in a good mood. World I is like a break time, where we get some peace before we attempt the giant that is World S, which we'll get to later. The world really shines with its first level, where you get to race against the time. It's not easy as we choose the wrong checkpoint, some time is deducted and we don't have the checkpoint saved. Unfortunately, L-2 is the weakest level of the three featured in this world. The level plays fine up to the checkpoint. After that we get to a room full of fishes that you have to blast with the fire flower, which is a really bizarre level design if you ask me. Fortunately, the world gets redeemed with L-3, a vertical stage where you have to stick to the caterpillar 24/7. It's intensive and dangerous, a good preparation before World S. World I is a night world, a theme that I always liked in games, especially when they had Yoshi's Island music playing in the background. All the levels are well made. However, I-2 is a long auto-scroll that is moving really slow, and it gets old pretty fast, especially because most of the level looks the same. If this level was cut in length, I think it would make this world much more fun. Still, I believe 16th place is not bad at all. Even though World L may sound like it will have a lot of labyrinths, Don't be afraid, as only L-3 falls into that category, while the rest of the levels play normally. I don't know why, but this world feels nostalgic to me. Perhaps because it is the last typical grassland world that we play in the game. After it, all the worlds get more complex. In L-5, we climb the tower quickly, so we are not caught by rising lava, just like in World 8-3 of original Mario Forever. But can someone tell me what the heck happened here? World O is a night world, just like World I we talked about not that long ago. With the canon Lakitu, 5-2 remake, and a dark level that you have to light up with switches, you won't get bored. Having said that, I'm not a fan of the random labyrinth in O-4, and do I even have to mention the hidden trap just before Bowser? I know there's X made out of coins, but if you play for the first time, it's unlikely you will think that there will be a hidden trap landing on it. Oh, okay, it was worth just for this cutscene. We've already covered half of the worlds, and this is where I think World U fits perfectly. It's definitely not a fun experience for Mario to come to this cold world between hot World T and even hotter World V, but I enjoyed my time with this one. It's kinda unique in its focus on puzzles, and while I think U-2 does the job very well, the third level could get some polish. First, we have a part where you have two ice bros, so what do? You kill them. Just to realize you were supposed to let them be, so they can freeze the coins for you to work on. And the flowery puzzle glitched for me in my playthrough. The little guy decided to walk through the wall and fall into the pit. Fortunately, you can still jump high enough to escape this trap, even without the flurry. The castle seems a little empty, but it plays nice, and I believe that's the first time in the game where we can ride on the shuriken platforms, as I like to call them. World J like Journey. If you want to stick to worlds starting with J, it's a joyful journey indeed. We have 5 levels to beat and each one has a different theme. We go from Glassland to a water level, then it's time for a beautiful autumn, dangerous descent, and finally we get to a castle combined with a laboratory, which we explore on a caterpillar. The weakest part of this adventure seems to be J-4, as it is a difficulty spike where we can easily die to some enemies such as Podobus and Hammer Bros. Still, the entire world is a one solid package, not to be missed. A lava world is destined to make someone's blood boil, and this is certainly true for World V. While the difficulty here doesn't reach the peak that later worlds can offer, it's still a reasonable challenge. I'm sorry, I was talking just about the first 2 levels. V-3, however, is a different kind of a beast. If you find Sonic the Hedgehog too slow, then it is a perfect stage for you. The auto-scroll here is so quick that you have to react perfectly to everything that stays in your way. While I think this level is a little too fast and requires too much memorization, it's still one of the most memorable levels of the game, and it features 1-ups, so there's nothing to worry about. By the way, this is the favorite level of Mr. Przemistrz. Crazy guy! Oh, there's also a castle, which is surprisingly mild compared to V-3. At least Bowser is cool. Or hot? So, we reached the top 10, which is opened by World P. Certainly one of the longest and the hardest worlds there is. It starts off easy enough with some plants and switches, but becomes harder and more interesting from P-3 onwards. In P-3 we have a falling ceiling, but the ceiling is a bunch of huge piranha plants. Level 4 is the most memorable stage of this world for me, as the auto-scroll changes directions and the level has a few backgrounds to offer. The P-5 could have been better, however, as it requires you to ride on platforms to clear the gaps, but it's not guaranteed that the obstacles in your way are synced with the platforms, meaning that you may get hit without it being your fault. The castle is fine, but holy, the fire piranha plant near Bowser can get annoying. Time for the first winter world in the series, if we don't count a single level from World K. World Q, what I like about this world is how the fire bros can melt the blocks, but so can you, granted that you have Fire Flower. Unlike really annoying pickaxe bros, however, fire bros seems to be more fun to play around with, as you can predict how the projectiles will go much easier than the pickaxes. Q-2 is surprisingly a hard level, where you have to control Mario pretty well and be the one with the wind, or else you be the one with the deep chasm. I also like the idea of bullet bills destroying the fire blocks in Q-3. Finally, the Frozen Castle and its menacing music. I find this level fun to play as the forms are dangerous, but they always have a pattern and a way to avoid them. While you have to defrost Bowser at the beginning of the fight, after doing that the battle carries like usual. Fortunately, in World U the same idea was expanded, where you have to deal damage quickly before Bowser gets an ice shield again. Overall, the world feels like the harder ice world out of two, even though World U appears later in the game, and a little more fun too. Press F to pay respects for all Marios that died in this fire world, World F. It's definitely a pretty hard world for just a 6-1, and a good one too. We start with a descent similar to J-4, however this time I think the level seems easier and not as annoying to play. Stages 2 and 4 are okay, but in my opinion F-3 and F-5 are the highlight here, the former being an underground cave and the latter being a castle. Not just a castle, but a special castle to see who's the smartest. The castle itself is a quiz, where you have to answer the questions about the history of Mario Forever. It's not hard and you are not punished severely should you choose the wrong option, but I find this idea to be cute and fun. Don't worry, the game doesn't suddenly become Mario is missing or Mario's time machine. It's time for the last world of the first half of the series, World M. While some of the worlds in the game don't know what they want to be, such as World K or D, this one knows. It wants to be a one big spike trap, and it wants you dead. We have a pretty popular level theme where Mario needs to avoid being crushed by a spiky ceiling. You will need to find a way to get to another safe spot and fast, or else you instantly die from these spikes. M-3 is your break time with some needles that just fall without killing you instantly, but don't get fooled. The ceiling of death comes back in M-4 with a twist. Starting from the checkpoint, the music turns into a menacing tune, the ceiling turns wet, and it stops messing around, if it ever did in the first place, waiting only a few seconds before falling. For such a crazy, intense world, Bowser is really a pushover without even utilizing the spikes, as they disappear when we reach him. Weird. In the World L section I said that it feels like the last typical grassland world for me, but World W can also feel that way, at least at the beginning. The first two levels are relatively short and easy, and I believe they could have been put in some earlier worlds and nobody would think of them being too difficult. W-3 gets a little harder, but nothing too serious, and you can actually use Louis to jump over the screen and skip a lot of it. The last two levels, however, take a U-turn and become more unique and hard. Level 4 is a Hammer Bro battlefield. Or should I say just Bro battlefield, as we're not only fighting Hammer Bros, but also Fire Bros and Pickaxe Bros. Not to mention that all of them are upgraded and throw more of their respective projectiles as usual. It feels really good to destroy all of them with the power of Starman, or to have RNG on your side and dodge their attacks. And of course, the castle, which has been haunted by ghosts. It has an interesting gimmick where we have to bait the blue body blocks and use them as a stepping stone to get to some otherwise inaccessible locations. Bowser himself did not avoid the curse and got turned into the ghost too. The fight is tricky, but overall easy. That is until you stay in the corner and die immediately for some reason. Time for the one and only the third world in this series, World T. It features a beautiful oasis full of cheeky waterfalls, parabitus from SMB3 that will require you to be on the move, and of course many hammers. After all, letter T looks like one. While the castle is a good one in case of the level design, it doesn't really scream dessert to me. A shame that DMV didn't decide to make it a pyramid one, like the final level of Roman World 4. Still, it's a very good and unique world that I like to replay. World Y. Why should you play it? Being the penultimate world, we could expect it to play some tricks to mess with our heads, and we will be correct. The first stage features fake blocks that will fall down when we get close, killing us if they manage to land on Mario's stubby face. The second level is an underground auto-scroll that requires us to make good and quick decisions to avoid the obstacles. The most famous stage is most likely the third one, with its very slow music, but let's not forget about the moving blocks featuring poison mushrooms that can and will kill you if you're not careful. Y-4 and Y-5 are kinda normal levels after the first three, but they are good nevertheless, with the former being my favorite level of this world, as it features awesome music and an interesting bullet bill gimmick that you have to play around with for the entire stage. But let's not forget about the Fortress of the Twins too. At last we have reached the top 3, and as many of you would have guessed, World S had to show up in it. And for a good reason. The world is a gigantic space odyssey. Mario starts off on the land, but shortly after we go into space. Each level here is completely different, that we start with some switch hunt, get a huge collectathon level featuring Gene Sovati's music, dodge lasers, and end with a castle that changes gravity from time to time, to which we have to adjust. This is also another world with a branching path. This time the levels are even more varied, as from S-2 we can either continue our journey in space and board the airships, or we can go back to the land for a moment and enjoy a rainbow road in S-A. The worlds after this one, such as World T or U, may feel really short and easy compared to this one. They are not bad, it's just that this world is this good. World X is a mysterious world that seems to be a natural evolution of human laboratory. During our adventure in this world, we encounter a lot of new enemies with new properties and attacks. For example, there's a bombshell Koopa from Super Mario Land that we may defeat and use as a bomb to destroy some brick blocks. Or there are Goomba Piranha plants that may be defeated by jumping on them, as their head is Goomba after all. Or the one level I remember the most from this world, the X-7, which has toxic enemies that will finish us immediately should we allow them. Even Bowser has got some modifications, making the fight with him a hard one. And while 8 basic levels is already a lot, we also have 2 extra stages to find, X-A and X-B. It's a fun, engaging world from start to finish. As you may have guessed, World Z takes the first place. We have a total of 12 levels, with them getting more and more challenging as we progress. Before we reach Bowser, we have to traverse through dark lands, with one of them having the instrumental version of Depeche Mode enjoying silence for some reason, ride on armed to the thief tanks and airships, explore dangerous fortresses, swim through a muddy underground, have a contact with nature, and even die a few times or more from the fiery Chip Chips. All of that to reach Bowser, who will challenge us to an interesting RNG fight where both Mario and Bowser can press a switch and try to get the best power up for them and the worst one for their enemy. While World Z is certainly not the hardest final world to ever appear in Mario Forever, it should still give you a run for your money. I hope you didn't actually pay for this freeware game. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. What is your favorite world and level of the game? Do you have any suggestion on how can I improve this type of a video? Should I even try to do something like that again? Please let me know.